You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Now, not often, Don, do we have two guests or a guest back twice in a row and so soon, but we've...
Sorry, this is the first time this has ever happened, and it's the first time you said we've got to get you back on again.
Yeah, Don.
This is you.
Don. This is the first time we've had a guest back on so soon after he was on the last time. But I'm not sure that he's too keen to be on again, even though he said that he'd like to come back on because he had some other interesting things to say, because as we sit here, he's 20 minutes late.
I was just going to say,
from the designated time he said he'd be here.
Exactly.
And I thought...
Where have you been?
Hang on.
In an important meeting.
Oh,
just a minute. We'll just introduce him. He is Dr. John Tickell. Now, he can tell us why he's famous. I did all this the other day off the Wikipedia.
No, we don't want to hear about that.
No, well, he'll tell us what he's good at.
Yeah.
And the first question I want to know is, if he's so keen to come on for the second time in as many weeks, why was he late?
I was at a meeting, Sam. We're talking about saving some lives.
Well, I don't think that's good enough.
There's 18 kids just got killed in America by a crazy gunman, and those dumb politicians. See, John Howard had the guts after Port Arthur. 34 people were killed. He had the guts within 1 month to change our gun laws.
Yeah, but what's that got to do with America and us?
What's that got to do with you being 20 minutes late?
We're talking about unnecessary preventable deaths in this country because politicians are dumb.
So are you saying that the Second Amendment in the United States, the First Amendment is free speech, which is now bitten the dust due to restrictions put on by Mark Zuckerberg on Twitter and all that sort of stuff and all that woke, incorrect, politically correct shit they carry on with. And the Second Amendment, the second in the Constitution, is the right to bear arms. Are you saying that they should cancel the right to bear arms in America?
Why did you say it's the Second Amendment?
Hang on.
What's an amendment? It's a change. So why don't they do a Third Amendment?
No.
Yes.
No, hang on, Doc. This is the perennial argument about people who want guns banned in America. And if you ban guns in America, the only people who get the guns are the people who shouldn't have them, and that's the criminals. So all the law-abiding citizens hand their guns in, but the people who want to protect themselves, and I'm not dissatisfied with our gun laws. I couldn't agree with you more about John Howard banning guns, but you'll never get them banned over there because that's their that's their Second Amendment in the Constitution, is to the right to bear arms.
But, hey, dumbness is coming. I'm scared that you're getting dumb because an amendment is a change.
Yeah, I know.
So why do they have a Second Amendment? Why don't they have a Third Amendment to stop killing kids?
It's a generic term about what are the rights of the Constitution in America.
The rights to kill kids.
The guns don't kill kids.
Yes, they do.
No, the guns don't. It's the people who own them or handle them.
So why are they allowed to have them?
Because they would. Because there is a constitutional.
It's an amendment. You amend amendments.
So you're saying they should ban guns in America? And
why
the only,
not? But why are we boys? Why are we talking about that?
Late.
That's it. But that's no excuse. That's American. That's it. Now listen, let's get this back.
Another 18 people have been shot.
18, yeah.
What, today?
In a school.
Oh no.
Today.
Is that
Not
after
today,
the
that
other
was
10 that were killed? No, that was
yesterday, wasn't it, or the day before?
Yeah, that was a few days ago.
Yes.
Now there's another 10. Copycat. It's called copycat.
another 10 or 18.
18.
But you're not going to change it over here, Tick. You're disillusioned.
Just a minute. 18. So I haven't caught up with this, and that it's just happened. 18 people were shot by whom?
A gun person.
White, black, brown, green, brindle.
It was just breaking news when I was driving here late because I have been meeting with people who want to change. See, we've got a new parliament. I don't know whether you know that.
Yeah, but what's that got to do with it?
Because
no, hang on, Doc. I'll answer that question. I'll answer that question, Doc. Is this referring to the election last Saturday?
If a Chinese are to call it an erection, in Australia it's an election.
I'll go along with this, Doc. I'm probably people might think that you're mentally unstable. We covered that. You've had a couple of surgeries on your brain, and I've deducted that you're not mentally unstable. But some people think you've gone a little troppo. I'm not one of them, or else you wouldn't be back here. In fact, you would be, because you'd be good copy. I understand there was an election, and I know what an erection is, and an election, although I can't get an erection. But I do understand that. Nork and Don.
Do you want some help there?
Well, I need to. Maybe you could push someone forward that I could get an erection to actually show to someone.
That would be
man,
hard.
woman, or beast.
That would be hard.
Yeah, let's hope
he's
so.
got plenty.
Now, Doc. Just finishing on, was there 18 people shot and killed
In the last few hours.
in the last few hours? That's extraordinary. Was it by? Now I only ask what nationality, what race the person was, because the person who shot the last 10 people was white, and he said he shot predominantly black people. Was this a black person who shot predominantly white people?
The details have not been released by the Texas police
Well,
yet.
who were the victims? What colour were they, mainly?
I don't know. They were in a
Okay.
school in Texas.
Man, oh man, that is extra. Well, so now there's a huge hue and cry now about changing the gun laws in America. It'll never happen, will it?
It depends whether you get a sensible politician whose kid has been killed by a gunman in America.
There's been plenty, but they will never. There's
Name
more.
one politician.
There's more guns in America than there are people.
And the gun lobby is huge in America.
Yeah, and who runs the gun lobby?
Well, the only notable I remember is an actor called
Charlton Heston.
Charlton Heston. That was the only one I can remember who was
he
connected
was mentally
to.
deranged.
Well, I think that's a big call.
No, it's not. If you think
We're all
people-
mentally
No,
deranged.
Doc,
It
just
depends on
because
what
people
degree.
disagree with you or anyone else doesn't mean to say they're mentally deranged. I know where you're coming from, and it's a emotional. I love our gun laws, and you shouldn't have carte blanche to buying guns. But that will never change in America because they're obsessed with them. And how do you take the millions of guns off people and leave them in the hands of? You'll still be able to get them on the black market, and the people who get them on the black market are the people who are not law-abiding citizens, who are criminals.
We'll bring back the death penalty.
Okay, and then you'll have all the woke people push up and say, no, we can't hang people for that crime.
People who kill other people with guns are not human beings. They don't.
Doc, you're
They
preaching.
shouldn't be alive.
Doc, you're preaching to the converted, mate. But you know very well it's very hard to hang anyone or capital punishment. They all the woke greenies all push back on all this stuff, son, mate. Where you're like throwing cream puffs at the town hall.
I'm with you. I mean, why doesn't someone like our health minister? Why doesn't he ban vaping in schools? Thousands of kids are buying vapes full of poisons.
But then we get on to, Doc. We had this discussion earlier, we had this discussion earlier about fast foods, and Don's talking about obese people. I said, you cannot save people from themselves. If people want to buy fast foods, I said McDonald's is one of the great companies in the world. It provides a food outlet, a service for consistent, good food, and if you eat it in moderation.
And do you know what the kids are trained to say behind the counter? Do you want fries with that?
That's the way they
Johnny, even you eat pre-cooked meals. Now, my friend, they're not good for you.
Well, Don, I'm sitting here saying I eat pre-cooked meals in moderation. Sometimes I don't eat them. Most of the times I don't.
Do you actually cook vegetables yourself?
No.
There you go.
Hang on, Don. But I sometimes go out a lot and eat very healthy food. I don't have a problem with obesity. I don't have a problem with my health. Even if I drop dead in the next 5 minutes, I don't think I have a problem with my health. So I'm responsible in what I eat. You can't save, Doc, people from drinking fizzy drinks, eating fast foods, eating anything else that you talk about. Where do you get off banning people from smoking? Do you think you should ban smoking altogether?
Yes, like Jacinda Ardern is going to do in 5 years.
John, it doesn't matter, and I'm with you. It doesn't. We cannot, and if people want to do that themselves, but as soon as they start inconveniencing others, it's a problem.
Like the health system.
The health system.
Yes.
I'll give you an example.
Hang on, Tick.
No, that text the interviewee, Don.
Yeah, but hang on. I've just said to you,
Don,
that the hospitals are full of these people who've got conditions,
Yes, I
and
just said
maybe eating is related
yes,
to
I
that.
just said it's a
I'm
burden on
going to
the
give you an
health
example
system.
of Southwest Airlines in America.
Yes.
They introduced a rule that if you were over a certain weight,
Yes.
you had to purchase 2 seats.
That's correct.
Because you were disadvantaging the thin person next to you when all your fat oozes over the bloody handrail. And so there was backlash from social media,
Yes.
as you call them, Greens and whatever,
Yeah.
because how dare they say I've got to buy 2 seats if I'm fat?
Yeah, and I remember that. I remember them doing that.
And Ryanair in what's that, Ireland,
Yeah, Ireland.
they introduced
Aer Lingus.
No, Ryanair.
Ryanair, they introduced a coin in the slot to go to the toilet.
Yep.
And because that's how they kept their fares cheap. If you go to the dunny,
Yeah.
if you ought to piss in the bloody cabin and drink it all, and you want to go to the dunny, it costs you $1.
Yep.
Now, is that good or-
What's the purpose of that?
No, so the people don't just load up on grog and alcohol and then just go and piss. So that's fair enough, Doc. And fair enough buying 2 seats, I understand. What about, so it's ludicrous. What about the fact that you can take on any animal that you can carry on the basis you have a doctor's certificate say you need a comfort animal to accompany you on a plane? If you went over to Perth, you got the plane at Tullamarine and flew over to Perth or wherever, and someone came on with a chihuahua or a goanna or a lizard or a snake or someone on the basis or a cat, that this was a comfort animal, where does that start and
Did
end?
you hear about the Texan who bought 2 first-class seats to take his monkey with him to the New York Monkey Screwing Championships? Or I shouldn't go there.
No, is this where he was just had a bye in the first round?
Yeah.
Well, go on, Doc, seeing as you're into humour. No, tell the people.
No, I won't get back.
Don't tantalise. Both of you tell it. If you won't tell the story, you tell the story.
No, the Doc would tell it.
I want to get back to
Tell us about the
Tell us
man.
about the monkey and the buy.
No, he didn't win, but he did.
We've got to introduce
He did have
humour.
a buy in the first round. Listen, mediocrity. Hey, last weekend, one of my grandchildren ran in a race, school race, and came 5th. And they gave him a ribbon for coming 5th.
But that's all finished now, I believe.
Well,
it's
hang on.
first, second, and
Why
third.
does the AFL have an 8? Like half the teams make
It's
the
for money.
finals.
Money. That's why the AFL
Okay,
do
what's
it.
the last team that won outside the top 4, won the flag?
Collingwood.
No.
Outside the top 4.
From
Finished.
Oh, that was in the 8th. Yeah.
I think Collingwood.
Bulldogs.
Yeah, they did
2017.
too. Yeah, well done.
Who was the...
And your point is that we are rewarding mediocrity.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course we are. But
So
that's the way the world's
when a
headed.
little kid grows up, they dream about being the best, the champion. You know, you win the Raylene Boyle, that Kathy Freeman's, Heck Hogan, came 3rd in the world, and they say, oh, he only came 3rd. I mean, he came 3rd in the world because he set his goal in his life. But if he came 8th, why should they give him a medal or a rhythm?
So why, if you're a girl, should you have to compete against people who are transgendered, who are actually biological males?
With you, I'm with you.
So good. I'm glad you're with me on that. So we
Yeah,
discussed
but they're
this.
testing now, aren't they, for the XY's chromosome
No, I
or
don't.
something?
That's what they were thinking of doing. I'm not sure. So this is not why we got you in, Doc. You said that you had some other interesting things to tell us. We're going to put you to the test in a minute, or we're going to cut this off, this interview. But Doc,
Yes.
We discussed that there's an all-girls school that you must have seen this now is not calling them girls and ladies at the school. They're calling them people because of the gender fluid pupils who might take offence at being, even though they're all biological women at the school.
Well, Sam, I'm a medical doctor. I know that women and men are different. Do you want me to go through the anatomy and
Doc,
the psychology?
No, but Doc, why are we putting up with this nonsense?
Because
why would a school run by basically people who are partially educated and have, you'd think, an IQ higher than their shoe size, why would they cop not calling people at their school, this all-female school, stop calling them girls or ladies because of their gender fluid people who might take offence? Why would you say that's the way it is here? We're girls and we call them girls and ladies and we're biological women, and if you don't want to come to the school, fuck off.
Well,
why don't they say that?
I was down in Portsea last summer having a coffee with someone. I don't live in Portsea anymore because, that's full of those people who are in the rich list. And I was walking along the street and I fell down. It was a little thing, they called it a manhole. and I
Yes,
fell down,
yes.
scraped my leg, nearly broke my leg, and people rushed at me and said, are you all right, Doc? And I said, yeah, I just fell down a manhole. And some woman said, no, it's a person hole.
I know, but mate, that's just people
What
being...
about the notices on the road, men at work? Like
Yes.
it should be person at work,
Or people.
people at work. Like we have lost the plot in terms of tradition. The LBGQIMBC7.
The alphabet sexes.
Yeah. Like what you're born as a male or a female.
No, but...
What makes people say, oh, I want to be the opposite?
So in America, the people who are on this, who are trying to change the world, the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of people who fit into this category, are now saying that we won't call, we did this on the podcast, we won't call men and women by, we won't call, say a woman has a vagina or a man has a penis or a man has testicles. They have given them new names for transgender or for gender neutral people, and they're called bits, this is parts of your body, bits, junk, equipment, the back hole, the front hole, the package, the sweet spot, and the innie and the inner and the innie and the outer, the outie, innie and the outie. This is then it's a generic term for people, not for sexes, and we are copying this stuff, Doc. Unless people like us push back and say, "What a lot of shit this is! Why do we have to cop this?" By people who are on an agenda for some other reason than is common sense. Now, Doc. I'm staggered that there was 18 people. There's something going on. That country is going to turn into if that man keeps running that country.
No, he's not to blame.
In my word,
it's been going on for years, John.
That man is to blame.
John,
He's divided the country more than you would believe.
John, and so is his predecessors,
No.
because this type of thing has been going on in America for quite a long time.
Doc, you said that you had some interesting things to tell us. Now, when I spoke to you on the phone, you said you were conducting a forum about women in the workplace or women's importance in the community. Did you not say, or did you?
Yes, I did say.
Why is that
women's
important?
Influence on politics, life, and every other thing.
So Don just said they make that car that's out there. They all make cars in the shape that they think will appeal to women, not to men.
Yeah.
Is this part of what you're on about, or what are you on about? Make sure this is interesting, Doc, because this will go for not much longer if it's not interesting.
Okay. I read an article on LinkedIn the other day which got lots of claps and applause and thumbs up and all that sort of stuff, where a woman said let's say she was sexily dressed. She said, it's not a competition, women versus men. Women and men are better if they exist together and comfort one another and help each other through life. That, I think, when was marriage invented? Adam and Eve, was it?
No. I think marriage, now correct me boys if I'm wrong, I think it is a religious ceremony.
Well,
I think the church decreed marriage.
But if you get divorced, that's a government
That's
document,
it. But
isn't
you
But
signed
Sam,
that
you know
document,
this.
but
How
I
many times
believe it was a religious.
But when
one of the
the opposite of marriage is divorce, Sam, you've had a bit of history.
How many wives have I had, Doc?
How many
of my
times
own?
have you got divorced and what forms did you have to fill out? Were they government forms or the church?
Government.
Yeah.
But don't you sign a government form when you get married?
Well, you go into the registry and you say, I love you, darling, and then you sign a thing.
Well, you go into the church and say all that, but then you go out the back and sign the documentation.
I think you sign two documents. I think one is a religious document, or the Church of England, or whatever church it is, and then the other one, I think, is a formal government document. I think.
Well,
So what's your point?
My point is, this woman, I can't remember her name, but I can give you the article. She said men and women were created to exist together, comfort one another, get on with one another, and raise families.
Yes.
Why has it become a competition like this Me Too bullshit? Well, what's Me Too for men? Is it Me Too for me, or is it just you two for women? Like, it's not a competition.
Okay, so
Like, why in the Saudi Arabia were women not allowed to drive for 300 years, and now maybe they're allowed to drive?
So there's a man called Alan Tudge. Do you know who Alan Tudge is? He was a politician.
Still is,
Still
isn't
is.
he?
And he had a relationship with a woman called Rachel Miller.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a relationship, and she sued him for domestic emotional violence. Domestic emotional violence. And we, the taxpayer, had to pay her $500,000.
In Australia or America?
In America.
No, in Australia.
Because even though they had a relationship, she sued him for domestic emotional violence.
That's something you can't measure, John.
Yes, it's intangible.
It's just like a bit like our case. You don't know what he was thinking.
That's so. How can that? How does that happen? How does a woman get $500,000 for having a relationship with a man, and it ends in tears?
But
apparently?
It's subjective. It's subjective.
Of course, it's subjective. Why have we had to pay for that subjective
because the
judgment?
judge in control. It's a subjective thing. It's not objective.
The judge in control.
Sam, the bottom line of what you're saying or asking is that most things in the Western world comes down to money. So
yes.
why has the AFL got 8 weeks of finals? It's called money. It's why as anything. Why did the government not ban smoking? Because they get $14 billion a year killing people.
So the woman that you said is thinking of banning smoking in the next
Their
5
Prime
years.
Minister.
The what?
Prime Minister.
Of whom?
Jacinta
New Zealand.
Ardern.
Oh
New
yes,
Zealand.
in New Zealand. So if it's not illegal, is she saying she's suddenly going to strike a decree saying that smoking is illegal?
A criminal offence like it is in Bhutan.
Where?
Bhutan
Is
is,
it?
just a dot on the map.
No, it's
Tick.
a country of its own right. With several
Yes, I
million-
know, and it's
got
below
as
the
many people as
Himalayas and
Australia
whatever
in it,
else,
has
but
it?
it's as,
It's got as many people as Australia.
no,
in it,
less than us.
Well,
Bhutan.
let me-
Bhutan, BHUT.
BH, Don, don't say H.
Oh, will you shut
No,
up?
please, fuck me dead.
No, I won't.
No, I'll cut you off. You say H once more.
Go on, you snob.
How do you, well, Don? How do you spell H?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, HATCH.
AITCH. That's H. Bhutan, spelt B-H.
B-H.
Okay,
HUTAN.
tick. Now you were friendly. You were friendly with Bruce Reid.
Yep.
You were groomsman, best man, and Vicky Verka, or groomsman, best man at each other's wedding. There is a tape that exists over the Essendon drug saga.
800,000.
We mentioned it
population.
last time.
Yep.
Did Reedy ever talk to you about his implication?
I
or how
had
he's-
dinner with Bruce every 2 weeks, and Judy, his wife, would say, now, we're not talking football. So after 2 beers, the whole conversation was about football and about the lack of duty of care of the Essendon Football Club.
No, Doc. So that's not the... Don, it's a good question. But the thing... Do you think Essendon are guilty, your personal opinion, think of guilty of anything to do with the drug saga?
Yes.
Besides duty
Now you're
of...
putting besides now.
All right, besides the duty of care, but do you think that they were injected with illegal substances? And how do you know if you think that?
It's circumstantial evidence because nobody ever was called to an inquiry. Don't forget, they weren't legal inquiries. If there was a legal inquiry, and there should have been, Stephen Danks would have been called as a witness. He was invited to these inquiries, a bit like Dan Andrews' bullshit hotel inquiry.
Yep.
Somebody signed a contract with the security firm. Nobody can remember who signed the contract. The opposition should have said, where is that contract?
Yeah, but we know you're getting off the
Well,
subject.
No, go on, go on.
Same.
So-
who employed Stephen Danks?
Essendon.
Yeah.
So who said Stephen Dank did anything wrong? Besides people saying, "Oh, we think he did." How do you know he did?
Work Care Victoria said.
No,
Vic
how did they know?
Workcare?
They
How did they know?
assumed.
Because they saw Essendon footballers in the clinic in South Yarra being injected.
With what?
Who cares?
No, you mean who cares? They could have been injected with legal supplements that gave them an edge over their competition, and until you prove or analyse what was injected into them, how can you say that they were injected with anything illegal? This is my whole point about this. This destroyed a football club for 5 years with no evidence at all that they were injected with anything illegal. People assumed they were, but it was never proven, and it went on, and it should have been dismissed dismissed out of hand, and they should have been reprimanded severely or even fined for duty of care, lack of, and that's it. And it's gone on and sullied reputations of everyone, and the press have ripped the people a new one with no evidence at all about any illegal
Can I say
substance.
anything
Yes, please.
It is illegal to inject a person with an unknown substance if you haven't been directed to by a doctor.
Doc?
So who injected them and where?
But there was a doctor at South Yarra.
Doc, they were told what they were being injected with.
They were not.
Hank, doctor, please.
They were not.
I know,
You
mate.
want me to
I know.
Get you to ring some players. To
No,
ask them?
I know more about. They were told whether it was a lie or fabricated on the document what they said they were getting. They were told what they were being injected with. It could have been bullshit, but no one.
Who wrote the document?
Probably the doctor injecting them.
Bullshit.
Or the person providing the stuff.
Yeah, and where did the stuff come from? It was made in a laboratory.
So, Doc, I agree with all what you're saying.
It's called a compounding pharmacy.
I agreed with all what you're saying, but no one ever analysed any of the substance or the liquid or the salve or whatever they were injected with. No one analysed it to say that this is illegal. It was assumed it was, and the players were told whether it be a lie or not what they were being injected with, or there was a form given to them, and they, like sheep, like when I was at Geelong and Don was at Hawthorn, they said, come in here, we're going to give you a shot to actually boost your immune system about something. You just walk in like a lemming and get it done. They were all told what was in the injection, whether it be a lie or not, and no one ever analysed what was in it, and that is a fact as we stand today.
Is that a similar story to when I played for Hawthorn and 3/4 time the trainers had a bottle of pink medicine?
They didn't have pink medicine. It was sherry. I had a swig of that.
Well, he would
South
know
Melbourne.
The doc
South
would know what
Melbourne in
sherry is.
1967, and I played the last quarter pissed. Yeah, I
Anyhow.
was drunk.
Anyway, it was morphine.
So morphine. So Doc, mate, I'm
You make
not.
a good
I'm
point.
99% with you, but my whole point about all this, I used to get the shit kicked out of me on the television because they say, why are you backing up a side that's taken illegal drugs? I said, tell me what illegal drugs they took. No one has ever proven it.
Why
and
did Gillan McLaughlin and Andrew Demetrio want to sue Bruce Reid in the Supreme Court?
I have no idea. That's what.
And why did
hang
they
on.
wimp it and not go ahead with
Doc,
it on the steps of
now you're getting into why you might have been invited back here. Tell us what that means. Or can't you?
the AFL shit themselves because they couldn't win the case.
Hang on, they shit themselves because Bruce Reid had quantitative, whatever that word is, evidence that they were being injected with illegal.
No. He raised his concerns by
He
an
wrote
email
letters.
Yes.
to the committee
Okay.
of what was
He
going
wrote
on,
letters and emailed
Based on what?
based on him being the doctor in charge, the medico.
what his players were being injected
So,
with.
Doc, that's duty of care and providence and all that. That's just running the club badly, or what if you like. But that's not evidence that Bruce Reid has no evidence that the players were injected with any illegal substance. Has he? Or
No.
to your knowledge?
In a court of law,
Yes.
a jury makes a decision.
Yes, on the likelihood of guilt.
Correct?
Yes.
Now, let's pretend an Essendon coach was met at the Sherritt Mirage on the Gold Coast.
James Hird.
And let's pretend he was talking with a guy who had been convicted
Yes.
as an illegal drug importer.
Is that either Stephen Dank or the other person? I can't think of his name. No, I know his name.
Charters.
Yeah, Charters.
Yes, but
Shane-
Charters
Let's
was
pretend
also.
that happened, and let's pretend the media knew about it.
Yes.
Okay.
But there was a
hang on.
hang on. There was a link between Charters and Hurd before, because Charters was Hurd's trainer, personal
Yeah.
trainer, whilst he was a
And
player.
there was the other person. What is it? The weapon or something?
Yes, that's all right. The weapon.
Who employed him?
But
It's a bit like Daniel Andrews. Oh, I can't recall.
no,
which
but
S-
mate, this is guilt by association.
No,
James Hird.
It's evidence. See,
It's
there
not
was
evidence.
no court of law. That's the problem.
But so then how did a club get destroyed when they could not prove, they could not substantiate anything they said, whether it be the weapon or Shane Charters or Dank or James Hird? I remember saying this on the footy show. James Hird said that he had that he was getting supplements. James Hird could be injected with bloody cockroach semen if he wanted to be.
He's not injected with melatonin.
He's not. Well, he can be injected with anything he likes. He's not a player under the auspices and guidance of the rules of the AFL. He's a private citizen. He can get injected with anything he likes as long as it's not anabolic steroids or whatever. So how did they? No one has ever said that the players were injected. They have said that, but no one's ever proven. And that's my whole point. This witch hunt went on for years and destroyed the club.
Okay. Do you know the rule that was broken, and Paul Little admitted it because he paid the fine the next day?
Yeah, no, I don't.
Vic Health duty of care.
Yes.
They fined the Essendon Football Club because of taking players away from Tullamarine, sending them to a clinic in South Yarra, being injected by a nurse, and the only person who knew what was in there
Yes.
was Stephen Dank,
Yes.
who never turned up to an investigation.
That's right, because he wasn't required to. Why would he?
Because it wasn't a court of law.
But that's right, because he would plead the fifth. Why is he going to get himself
But let's get to the finality of this AFL wanting to sue Doc Reid in the Supreme Court. Why did the AFL squib it on the steps of the Supreme Court?
You tell me. Because what? They didn't want to be embarrassed by duty of care.
They couldn't prove that Dr. Reid wasn't acting in the best interests of play. They couldn't prove it.
And hang on, they couldn't prove.
They wanted to suspend Bruce Reid.
But
Carolyn Wilson wanted to suspend Bruce Reid.
Caroline,
She's a journalist.
Don't start me on Caroline Wilson, who character assassinated every person at that club with no evidence at all.
That's what she gets paid for.
Drove what, misinformation?
No, going to the edge and suggesting things.
Yeah, suggesting things, misinformation. So
I like Carolyn Wilson.
Eh?
I know her dad very well.
Yeah, I know. I know her dad very well.
Yeah.
He is a very good person.
I had my last smoke with Dr. Wilson.
Smoke?
Last smoke.
Yeah, that's right. He's still into about 40 a day, isn't he, the doc?
Not as many as Shane Warne.
No. Doc, you're boxing at shadows here. There was no... so I'll tell you why they took them out of the Essendon medical room and took them down to a private clinic. It's impossible to inject 40 people with supplements, whatever's in them, in a football club medical room. There's
Why
just
is it impossible?
Because there's not enough room.
Bullshit. I used to inject Malcolm Blight with cortisone every Thursday.
Doc, he is you could fit 3 people in the medical room at Geelong when I was there.
3 at a time.
3 at a time.
Yeah, so you could all go through, you know.
So they took them all down. They didn't want to...
Do you know how big the clinic rooms are? The same as the medical room.
Doc, Essendon's explanation, or the people who took them away, Essendon's explanation was that they didn't want the other clubs to know what they were doing because they wanted to steal a march on them with having these in supplements that might give them an advantage on the football field.
They were hiding.
They were hiding the fact that they were taking their players away to get injected with supplements so that when the season started, the side would look good and they'd think, well, gee, how are they looking good? Because they've had a supplement regime injected into them. Now, that's a legitimate reason to take a club away from its premises, but no one ever found out what they were being injected with. They were told it might have been a lie, and it was a complete furphy, the whole thing.
Well, it's incredibly...
What?
Put it this way. One of the drugs that it was suggested they were injected was thymosin B4.
Yes.
There are 2 types of it.
Yes.
Asada had banned one type, but not the other type, right?
And you'll remember Joe Watson, not inadvertently, but Joe confessed when he was asked. He said, we were told I was injected with thymosin or whatever it was called, or BV6 or something, and they said, oh, well, that was illegal. He said, and then they said, no, it wasn't illegal. WADA had it illegal. WADA didn't have it legal. There was a grey area, or else why would he have admitted he was being injected with an illegal substance if he hadn't been told or it wasn't ratified that it was legal in the first place?
Well, he was being more scientific than he needed to be.
Because he was trying to be honest. He said, yes, I was injected with B65 or whatever it was.
And he got booed, and he lost his Brownlow medal, and they should give it back.
Yeah, well, a lot of people get booed for a whole lot of reasons, but they don't cite racism when they get booed. Most of them. No one will ever. That was a disgrace. What happened to Essendon? A disgrace, Doc. And and brother Bruce Reid. You said the AFL didn't want. What's his duty of care, Bruce Reid's? They've taken them off campus.
No, Mr. McLaughlin and Mr. Demetrio wanted to sue Dr. Reid for
what?
Bringing the game into disrepute.
So the AFL handled this badly, didn't they?
Yes.
Disgracefully. They should have hit it on the head when it started, but they hitched their wagon to WADA, and because WADA, Bruce Pound, or not Bruce Pound, whatever his name is, Phil Pound, Dick Pound, in the head of WADA in America, and he thought, we'll jump on a pissy little club at the bottom of a pissy little country in a pissy little competition called Australian rules, while we'll let the Russians, the Chinese, the Americans, the Irish, we'll let everyone else cheat in the Olympics and fucking live, but we'll just hone in on this little club down the bottom, and that'll look as though we're being very strong. Mate, it was an absolute disgrace all round.
Can I ask you?
The same opinions.
What's that?
You and I have similar opinions. Did you hear in the last 24 hours that Naomi Osaka is probably not going to play Wimbledon?
Is she dead?
No, Wimbledon are not.
Oh, no, sorry, that's the other Chinese girl.
Wimbledon are not giving points.
No, they're not giving points. I think, hasn't the tennis authority taken away Wimbledon's credibility as far as...
Well, it's because
there's no points.
Allowing Russians to play. So they're not
so what's that got to do?
In terms of Djokovic and whose ratings and all that.
So Djokovic is allowed to play? Good on him?
Yep.
And don't tell me Medvedev's. Is he allowed to play?
No.
Why isn't he allowed to play? Because he's a Russian.
He's Russian. He's playing in Spain, but he's not playing at Wimbledon.
What's Medvedev being a Russian got to do with him being not allowed?
That's what the tennis people have said, and they've taken the points away from Wimbledon.
Because they allow Prince Charles to have different relationships when he's in his position of power, but they won't allow...
Oh, what, like Bill Clinton or John F. Kennedy?
What's it got to do with war?
I did not have sex with that woman.
Yeah, that's
right. They weren't killing anybody.
Hey, Sam, do you know what the similarity between Monica Lewinsky and the Titanic is?
Someone didn't go down on the Titanic. I don't know what.
No, they both went down with a lot of semen.
I like it, Don? Semen stains over there? Doc, humour is...
we're on the same page.
No, just a minute. Why would Medvedev, who was born in Russia or Russian, why is he precluded, because his government, why is he precluded from playing sport in Wimbledon?
Well, you bring up the point where there's a differing opinion, like the US wouldn't go to the Moscow Olympics, right? So there are various things that happened. I believe the Australian team didn't go... Did they go to the Moscow, the Australian team, in the Olympics, or not?
No.
No. So when politics is mixed...
hang on, Moscow.
Yep.
When politics is mixed with sport,
yes,
you get into this mess. So you're saying politics and sport should be separate.
Yes.
I totally agree. But the authorities have to make a stand that they think. But
that's banning a country to. If you were an Australian here and the Americans didn't like something that you'd done and you were stopped from going over and playing in the bloody US Open in tennis, how has that got anything to do with your country? You personally.
Well, why did Darren Hinch go to jail for wanting to name pedophiles and where they lived?
Because it was against the law to... It was against...
So if you lived in the same street as a pedophile and you had kids, that's fine. You don't need to know that they're there.
No, mate, I'm just saying he went to jail because he broke the law. Whether you think the law is...
not subject... Is it called sub judice?
What we're trying to do is mix up heroes and villains. you know where you were. Don, where were you when Alan Bond we won the America's Cup? Where were you? Where were you when we won the America's Cup?
Sitting in front of my television.
At home or where?
Yeah, home.
At a girl's place.
At home.
Did you have a girl there? Was she excited?
Jesus, a long time.
Doc, I'm just trying to get the analogy. Don would be with a girl, and the girl would get excited because Bond lifted the wing keel out of and the wing keel reminded her of Don or something, or what?
Well, they came from 3-1 behind. And now Alan Bond went to jail for stealing a painting.
Yep.
So hero, villain, villain, hero. When he arrived at the low security jail, the warden said, "Mr. Bond, welcome. Do you like tennis?" He said, "I like tennis." He said, "You'll enjoy Mondays." He said, "Do you like
Come on,
golf?
spin the microphone, please.
Do you like golf?" He said, "Oh, now and again." He said, "Tuesdays will be okay." That's it.
No, Doc, please. You've lost me. Alan Bond went to jail and said, "You like tennis on Mondays?" He said, "You like Mondays." "Do you like golf?" He said, "You like golf on
Tuesday."
You'll like Tuesdays.
Yes.
Do you? Okay, I'll massage the words. Do you like what else happens in prison?
Yes.
And he said, "No, definitely not." He said, "Well, you're not going to like Wednesdays."
I see. Well, did you explain that joke properly then?
Not quite deliberately. And anyway, so, by the way, where were you when JFK was assassinated?
I was lying in my dormitory bed at Geelong Grammar in 1963, I believe.
With a girl? Was it
No,
mixed?
it was only... No,
Is it co-ed now?
It is now, but there was all boys then. Mind you, I don't think transgendering was on the horizon even then. I could have been lying next to a boy who actually had transitioned into being a woman, or a woman who'd transitioned...
Don, do you agree with co-ed schools, or should they just be male and female?
No co-ed.
No co-ed or yes co-ed?
Yes, for co-ed.
Yeah. Why?
You learn interaction.
Well, you were told not to have interaction.
No, interaction doesn't have to be physical.
So do you think co-ed schools improve later life relationships with men and women?
Yes.
So what happened to your marriages?
It's you come from different places, you're conditioned growing up. So you bring your baggage that you've accumulated over the years into a relationship.
At Timbertop, where I went, but there was no co-ed there, it's co-ed there now, there is a line, an actual proper line, L-I-N-E, drawn in the...
like at Flemington, the VRC. Women weren't allowed across the line.
If boys cross the line or into the women's section, they get expelled. That's it. If you cross the line, you're out.
Remember Jean Shrimpton?
Yes.
She was the first woman
Who wear a mini skirt at the races.
In the members.
Yeah.
Like her skirt was 2 inches above the knee.
Yeah, but that was provocative back in those days.
Well, why isn't it provocative now? What's the difference?
Because, girls were wearing hot pants in the late 60s.
Well, where 3 of my granddaughters go to school, they have to kneel and to see how far, whether the skirt reaches the knee.
I'll tell you the most provocative thing that we ever saw when we were kids or when we were youngsters, teenagers. Yeah. Do you remember Christine Keeler? She had an affair with John Profumo and she was filmed in Playboy sitting on a chair in a pair of bikinis with her legs apart, but she had bikinis on. And then the woman who was subsequently taken a photo, I can't think of her name.
Mandy Rice Davies.
Well done, Don. Mandy Rice Davies appeared in the next episode, and she sat with no clothes on, with her legs apart, but there was a back to the chair, very slim back to the chair, so you couldn't see the minge, but the visual appearance of knowing what was behind the little back to the chair was far sexier than sitting with your legs apart with your bikinis on.
Yeah, and now you're going to talk about Sharon Stone.
Yes, that's the most free-framed piece of film ever in the history of television. When she just opens the legs to show the minge or the woofer, they just freeze frame it. And if you buy or you used to rent from all those stores that used to rent videos and cassettes, half of them didn't work because it had been freeze framed so much that you couldn't actually watch the film.
Now I'm going to change the subject to saving lives.
Just you last time. Thank you. Last time you mentioned about Alan Bond. You did, and Kerry Packer. Did you have? This is what intrigued us. Did you have any stories about those people, or did you make that up just to get on back here? And why didn't you invite Don to lunch or dinner? I said I've been invited by Sue and John Tickell to have a meal, and Don said I haven't been invited.
Well,
I said
I'm not on.
Maybe he's lost your phone.
I am not on the A list. I told you went to the Crown Casino.
Me, we invited you to the Rye pub a month ago.
I wasn't going to go.
Yes, but why?
Because of COVID.
Okay,
I told you that at the time.
Well, at least he invited you. You didn't tell me that. You kept me in.
Yeah, but hang on. You're being invited to an A-list function. You're an A-lister.
Doc.
No. Don's, what's your name? Sam. His wife died a year and a bit ago, and we feel sad that Sam has lost the love of his life.
Yes, thank you, Doc.
And
now, Doc. Thank you.
Yep.
Now, Doc, so what's the next topic? This better be interesting because
Well,
it's been reasonably interesting so far.
Yeah,
but
well, Don, a month ago, refused to go out with Sue and I to a place to congregate with other people,
yeah, I know.
C-listers,
He's anal.
at the Rye pub. And we said, why? He said, because of COVID. Now, the weekend before last, you see, Tom Elliott the other day on the radio,
Yes.
he was discussing with, I don't know, Mr. McLaughlin or some AFL freak that the crowds are down.
What's that got to do with the Rye pub?
Hang
Go
on,
on.
compared
COVID.
to the pre-COVID year.
Mm.
And I sent an email to Tom and said, Tom, last weekend there were 90,000 COVID cases and 74 deaths.
Yep.
We're not over COVID.
Yeah.
And he wrote back and said, didn't know that, Doc, that's a good point. So I'm now sort of what is it called?
Gendering?
Transposing? No, transposing into how many more deaths is okay with COVID.
So why when give an answer to this question, why when there was 5 cases did the whole of the state have to wear masks and now there's 20,000 a day and we don't have to wear masks?
Because Mr. Andrews is a dominant, aggressive...
No, it's been politicised. The whole thing was politicised, mandating of vaccines.
Every time he
the
made
whole thing is political. We've got an election coming up in
Let me tell you the
November.
facts. Every time Mr. Andrews made a statement about what he was going to tell the public not to do, he said this is on the best health advice.
Yes, which wasn't.
We were never told what the best health advice was.
because they make it up.
And who's Bretton Sutton? What are his qualifications?
None.
And who was Mr. Julian, whatever, the commander of whatever? You see, it's a bit
Weimar.
it's a bit like politicians. Not one politician who won the election last Saturday has ever run a business. So how the fuck are they going to run a country?
That's why Donald Trump was fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's why the Victoria Party is relevant in Victoria, a new party coming up.
Anyway, if we don't care about the hundreds of people dying from COVID, from now on, it's a thing. Do you know that winter is coming in a week?
Had a fair idea, seeing as from freezing my balls off here today. Yeah, go on.
Did you meet my sister Tess?
Meeting about
Tess Tickell?
Testicle.
Yeah,
Testicle. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
good.
she had a ball.
Doc, it's fantastic.
Anyway, in the
testicle, Don.
in
The
the
docs.
It took you a long time to work
It did.
that
It took me a long time
I
to
know,
work
you're
that.
thick
The
as a
docs
brick.
come with some very good, sharp
I
stuff
know,
today.
Jethro Tull
in the
wrote that
northern
song about
hemisphere,
you.
did you know in the northern hemisphere it's winter during our summer?
I did.
Okay, in our summer, in their winter, COVID cases in every European country went whoosh, up.
And you say it's going to happen here.
Yeah.
What about the monkey pox?
There's only 2 cases in Australia, so I would suggest we ban Africans and Japanese coming to Australia.
Now, I'm not saying this, Doc, but they said in the overseas news that it is the rampant gay community have exacerbated monkeypox. Now, that was on a new... Would that be right? The gay community are responsible for a huge increase in monkeypox.
Remember the HIV, the AIDS virus? That took a while for it to be known that the majority of AIDS transmission happened with two things: needles that were used again with liquid blood.
And the gay community?
And I introduced a thing then with my speeches all over the world called the BP rule.
Yep.
Bottoms are for pooping out of.
Yes.
That's it.
Thank you, Doc.
So
you're saying that is so people don't like to say that, don't like to mention that, but they said that the people on this newscast in America said, look, this is a sensitive subject, but a doctor came on and said, I'm just telling you this, that it is a rampantly gay, predominantly a rampantly gay disease, monkey pox, and I'm sorry to say that, he said, but look, we just should say it as it is and give people a warning.
Do you know which Australian company made the most profit during the AIDS epidemic?
Pfizer?
No. Ansell.
Yes.
They made condoms.
Yep.
Oh, through the... Sorry, which epidemic?
AIDS.
Oh, the AIDS,
HIV.
yeah.
Now, AIDS killed 40 million people in the world and only 8,000 in Australia because the government got smart and they spent a lot of money on the Grim Reaper.
Yes.
And the bowling alleys and all that.
Yes.
And people shit themselves.
Now,
with the COVID,
figuratively speaking,
the government haven't been smart enough.
Why? What do you mean?
We've got to scare the shit out of them. Like people
but
say...
they keep saying get injected and boosted and double boosted.
Yeah, but we should be saying, look at this person who died that didn't need to die. Look at the pneumonia. Look at all the water in their lungs. Look at this. Look at that. I mean, what about the road ads? Drink and drive, you're a bloody idiot. Why don't we get aggressive again?
But how about they be honest and say a lot of people die with COVID but not because of it?
Yeah, because they're immunocompromised. But that's my point. If you are responsible for your own immunity...
Yeah.
So
were you saying you should get boosted and double boosted and triple boosted? Yeah. I wouldn't have one more injection. I've had 2 Pfizer injections and that's it. I don't trust any of the other nonsense that they carry on with because of the misinformation. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I tell you what, I'm not getting boosted before I know what the outcome of all that stuff is.
Okay, so in 3 months' time, your immunity to COVID will be almost gone. Do you want another booster then or not?
No.
Why?
Because...
Do you have a flu vaccine?
I haven't had it yet, but I would get one. Yes, I would get one.
Why?
Because I hope it stops me getting flu.
Okay, so what's the difference between flu vaccines every year?
Because it doesn't. The vaccine doesn't stop you getting COVID.
It reduces your risk dramatically of hospitalisation and death.
Well, so they say.
You want to die?
So they say, Doc.
They have proven it.
You said. Well, you just said that the government here on the best health advice ask you to do all these things, but you said on whose health advice?
Well, it's now ATAGI as the Australian health advisor, and they're taking their advice from the World Health Organisation, and we know now that your immunity from a vaccine...
Have you had COVID?
Have I had it? No.
And I haven't. I'm sure I'll get it. It's just a question of when you get it.
It's going to be how good your immune system is.
Well, I'm so sorry. I've had two shots only because I couldn't get into fucking restaurants and shops. You had to show that embarrassingly stupid little thing on your phone to say that you've been boosted.
Hey, Don, have you had more than 2 vaccines?
2.
Yeah, so...
I'm not having any more because when I went, and I've stated my case before and I'm repeating, I asked for AstraZeneca, which I had earlier. They said, no, we can only give you Pfizer and Medina, I think it was.
So what's wrong with them?
Okay, because when I went initially, I wanted Pfizer.
Yes.
No, you can Pfizer? Only get AstraZeneca. I have then...
Why did you want more?
I'll tell you why. Because I'd swallowed the propaganda about the others, AstraZeneca and Moderna, and I said, I want Pfizer. And they said the reason that you couldn't have Pfizer is because only people over 60 weren't allowed to have it. And I thought, how discriminatory is that? So I dug my heels in, and I got it illegally.
That's a dumb government.
Yeah,
I was
that's
given
exactly
it illegally.
right. And also, we weren't allowed to have that other one that came out. Novavax. That's the one I wanted. Because
So
it was
how do you
made
know if
differently to
any
the
of
other
them?
two.
How do you know if any of them are
mRNA,
effective?
The newer vaccines, Moderna and Pfizer, they invented mRNA vaccines in the 1970s, 40 years ago. They've been tested on different viruses since 2005. People say, oh, they only made them last week. Bullshit.
Come in closer to the microphone, Doc, please.
They started making mRNA vaccines in 1970s.
So it's a rort, the whole thing, isn't it?
Oh, Sam.
No, go on.
Did your parents vaccinate you against whooping cough, polio,
Yes,
But
they
those
did.
were tested. Those were tested.
They were new back then.
And
They
I
were
haven't.
tested and went through a series of tests. This thing has
So has
been
this
rushed through.
No, Doc.
hasn't been
the
rushed
difference.
through.
The difference between what you're saying is, I was vaccinated for all those things. I haven't had polio. I haven't had whatever the other. But people get injected with the vaccine for COVID, get boosted and boosted and boosted, and they still get it.
That's because the virus mutates.
Well,
So
so
the vaccines have to be rejigged. The protein spikes have to be rejigged to handle the... See, COVID isn't a new virus. It's a mutation of the SARS virus from 20 years ago. See, when virus gets into a host, like a living being, like a human being or an animal or a bird, it can change its own genetics. You can't. Like if you had better genetics...
what did you call me then?
Eh?
What did you call me?
CAN''T.
Oh, I said you can't. I'm sorry, Doc. I thought you were becoming... Okay,
So you took risks. Were you the first player to wear non-black boots?
No,
Who was?
Phil Carman.
Number 22. What was the
Number no, hang on. He wasn't 22. He was much lower than that. He was in the single digits.
Who was the umpire? Umpire Carberry.
Oh yes, he headbutted him.
Who was the topless, bottomless girl at Duel?
Yeah, I'll tell you who it was.
Cinco.
No, don't. I'll tell you.
Helen D'Amico.
Helen
D'Amico,
D'Amico.
that's
Yeah, that's right. Yep. We interviewed Helen D'Amico on the footy show.
Did she have clothes on?
She came on and she was. We tracked her down and we got her on when Carlton played in some grand final or something.
Did you give her a Palaco shirt or whatever you were giving her away that night?
No, she was. I think she was. I think she was into analgesics at the time and didn't make a hell of a lot of sense. Yeah.
Hey, what were the shoes that Graham Kennedy used to pour shit on?
Ralph Merton. Yeah.
Like the sales went through the roof.
That's right. If your feet are hurting, it's for certain they're Merton.
Oh, dear. Anyway, I was on IMT 108 times in my singing
You told
group.
me 150.
108.
What for?
The Idlers 5, Melbourne.
Oh yes, that's right. The Idlers
That's
5.
And
bullshit.
Graham Kennedy wouldn't go into the dressing room. He had his own caravan.
He
out the
did.
back.
Oh yeah, and pool and everything, and you had to be very select people to get in there,
Yeah.
mainly of the same gender.
Yeah, Pete Smith put a rug on one day and...
Do you know who is his personal driver?
Rod Asprey.
Rod Asprey. Yeah, I knew Rob very well.
Yeah.
Not as well as that, but I knew him very well. And the things he said that they used to do down at Frankston in that house of his was extraordinary.
Isn't it interesting? I was actually coming today to talk about women's influence.
Go ahead.
Remember Eddie, when he was the boss of Channel 9?
Yes.
And his legal assistant was Jeff Brown, who's
Yes.
now the president of the Commonwealth.
Yes.
And I'm sort of making this up, but they, in consultation, decided to bone Jessica,
Yep.
right?
Yep. It's Saka.
Because of
Yep. Whatever.
ratings.
Yep.
Now, could you do that today without pre-discussing it with somebody going to sack?
You saying could they dismiss someone on the basis that their ratings are deleterious to the success of the
telling them.
station without telling them? Well, it depends what their contract says, doesn't it? No, that's an interesting point.
Yeah, because with this movement, and I'm not having a go at women. Like my wife saved my life. Bought him a 10 veggies every night to hospital. Like my wife is an absolute superstar. And all I'm saying is the women's movement, equality is the name of the game. It's not they're better than we are or we're better than they are. So, Sam, if you had to go through your wives, I mean, your best wife was your last one. You've stated that. She was the love of your life.
Yes.
So,
Well, I loved all the others.
for how long?
Well, that obviously not long enough. But that's all right.
But do you think men and women, like Don, how long did your first
Did you
marriage?
think I just got married because it was a habit?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, hang on. Jews, if they're asked a question, they...
Jews?
Yeah, Jews reply to a question with a question.
Oh, yes.
Why did you get married the first 3 times?
Because, did I not say that?
No, you said you thought you loved them. Or
No, I said I loved the people I married.
Did you have sex before marriage?
Yes. Yes.
Thought for a while then.
No, I was trying to think of the first person I married.
What was it? Sort of Bill Clinton sex, or
Oh,
No, that's a good question. Bill Clinton sex, I know what that means. That's a
do you know why-
really good question,
do you know
Doc.
why Trump won the election?
Yes. Because he resonated. Go on, why?
No, because people didn't trust Hillary.
That's right, and neither they should if you see what's coming out now about the investigation into the Russian collusion. She is the most corrupt, dishonest slag of all time.
So why did Labor win last Saturday's election? Was it a matter of trust because ScoMo couldn't cope with climate change and women's rights and all that? Is that the reason?
I would say he was rounded up by little vested interests who wanted to get him out and made half the stuff up about him. Well, like they do with everyone.
Yeah, so to be a politician, you only need 2 things. You need ego and you need to be powerful. Like, you need the...
presence.
Hence, Trump being elected.
Anyway,
Ego and power.
What were we talking about?
You're talking about women pulling the wool over men's eyes. I think you were talking about that.
Yeah, well, we get back to this equality
You
thing.
better talk about it. We've been going for an hour.
Is that good or bad?
We don't like to go for more than an hour.
Should we stop now?
Well, if you've got anything else to say, go on. Quick.
Oh, now, see, this is where some of the girls are stupid.
Yep.
50 years ago, the ratio of teenage smokers was 10 boys to 1 girl.
Yep.
Now it's 50-50.
Yep.
So why do young girls deliberately damage their... Let's pretend...
Now go on. Ask that again.
Right. Why do young girls deliberately soak up 70 cancerous poisons?
Okay. So Don, when you were a boy, or when we were young, like in our 20s, and you were too, Doc, whenever we saw a girl smoking, we thought, shit, this girl must be promiscuous. We thought
Really?
girls smoke.
Did you think along?
Absolutely. We
Oh,
used
no,
to,
that
we
never
used to
came-
think when
no.
girls smoked, they were promiscuous.
No.
That
Well, that's like asking you, do you ever smoke after sex? And you say, I didn't look.
Yes, thank you, Doc.
Yeah.
Yes,
But now so I interview young girls, teenage girls, at the Sereno pub because there's a balcony. You're allowed to smoke on the balcony.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 people on the balcony, even in the middle of winter, are young girls smoking.
You're not sure that you'll be typecast as a creepy old man speaking to teenage girls out on the balcony.
It's called research.
I'm going to say in the name of research.
I had a Big Mac the other day, and I only got through it, half of it, because I was doing research. Because the kids had won a basketball game and they wanted to go to Macca's. So you don't say, no, you can't have a Big Mac. But you see, in my mind, if I owned Macca's, I'd introduce a Little Mac. If you
What's that got to do with the girls smoking on the bloody veranda
life
at the
is full of
Portsea pub?
life is full of choices.
That's right. And this is where we came in, didn't we? We came in about obesity. What was the first thing you came in about saying stopping smoking? No, that wasn't
Vapors.
stopping. Vaping. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, how can you stop people vaping?
you ban it.
Well, on what basis? That it's bad for your health?
Yeah. it's
Well, so what
poisonous.
else? So's drinking, so's fast foods.
The government get money from all of those things. The government is the most corrupt
But Greg
organisation.
Hunt said the other day he's expecting the state. This is blaming. Daniel Andrews blamed the federal government because he allowed the deaths of 809 people in aged care homes to die from COVID because of the fuck up with the security firms. And nobody knows who signed the contract for a security firm that was on the tender list. Now,
that's corruption.
Greg Hunt has said to the state premiers, you've got to do something about kids vaping in schools. So who's responsible?
In schools, you can stop school people, underage people smoking. Yeah, that's against the law, isn't it? Or maybe it's not.
Under 18.
Under 18, selling cigarettes.
It's a nicotine product, you see. But you see, the manufacturers of vapors don't have to put on the label, this contains nicotine or this does not contain nicotine. So the school principals are now saying no kids allowed to vape.
Is they the same school principals that say that we're not calling girls and ladies for gender fluid pupils?
I can't answer that question.
It's bullshit.
I know some school principals.
Doc, do you think you'll come back again, or do you think we've exhausted about how much we can get out of you over any... You're an interesting man to speak to.
Yeah, well, I need 2 minutes now to discuss the best book I've ever written.
Right, I'll give you 2 minutes, so go ahead.
You've got the cover in front of you.
The best immunity, your best immunity, build resistance the ACE way.
What do you mean the best book? So the others were shit?
Go on.
No, they're all... The million seller was the one I wrote.
Righto, well, give us... This is the free ad. Go on.
Don, do you think you can...
Speak into the microphone, Doc, please.
Don,
fuck you.
You were born with an immunity. You were born with an innate immunity. You got it from your parents.
You've got a personality bypass, Don.
Do you think what you've done in your life has boosted your immunity?
Yes.
Okay, name 2 things you've done that you think boosted your immunity.
I think you just... there's too many.
Now, 2 things you've done that boosted your immunity. What does that mean? Being in the public arena?
Hey, you wrote it down last week. A, C and E. Can you remember what the A and the C and the E were?
No.
Activity.
Yep.
You 2 are still active.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I just said physical.
Yeah. The C is coping, managing stress.
Yeah.
Don, do you think you're a good manager of stress?
No.
No? Give me an example in the last month where you badly managed stress.
Yep.
Not in the last month.
I think I'm very good at managing stress. Yeah. I don't know if that's blowing wind up your own backside. I think I am.
No, but you see, Sam, the biggest producers of negative stress responses are relationship breakdowns and financial.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
And wrongdoing with one of your kids. If your kids get into trouble with the cops, then that is a huge stress response. So you have been active all your life. I think you cope well. I mean, you've been dismembered, psychologically embarrassed several times in your life by critics, like Footy Show and everything you say, like marching up Parliament House with a bloody golf club.
Yep.
And you were correct. Because how does the Premier say you're allowed to walk around
but hang on, you're getting off the track. What's that got to do with immunity?
That was when I lost respect for the whole of that, when he said that you couldn't play golf because it was injurious to your health. Yeah. That was a direct and blatant lie.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah, and that's why that's how I started on this disingenuous campaign that he's on.
Don Scott gets a bit uptight about stuff. I'm not bringing up the Nicky Winmar thing, but some people handle those situations better than others. Like our friend Mike, I had a coffee with Mike the other day. He walked away. That's one way of handling a pressure, is to walk away. Like a managing director, you fix it. I'm going to go and play golf. So Mike's a great guy, but he couldn't handle the pressure. So it was his decision.
Well, he and Don created it legitimately. He could not get a more legitimate conversation, which was rounded up by the woke and the AFL and Gil McLaughlin, and they all just. And I'm very happy to say I'm part of the team, but I had very little to do with it. And we sued those people, countersued them, countersued one of those people, and backfired on them big time. And Mick walked away from that.
I'm not saying that's a wrong decision to walk away.
No.
It's a personality trait.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, no, I'm not saying it either.
Anyway, activity, coping, stress, and the E is eating. Now, Don, I got invited to your house one night for dinner because you didn't want to go to a restaurant, and I had to sit on the fucking floor, crossing my knees, and you gave me a plate of vegetables. So I think your eating principles, more plant than flesh, have always been good. So, did your parents bring you up, feeding you veggies and fruits? And
I hope you're not going to try and speak into the microphone from a foot away from it, Don, are you? You're going to lean in and speak to it, or you're not going to answer that?
You've eaten well all your life, haven't you?
No.
Just keep the answers short, Don. Now, Doc, that's just been fantastic.
Hang on.
Well, come on.
This book, you'll be invited to the book release. Michael Wilkinson Publishing, and this book is an outstanding summary how you, the most important person with your immunity, your resistance, is looking in the mirror. That person in the mirror.
When's it out?
June the 8th.
June the 8th, your best immunity, build resistance the ACE way, and we've discovered activity, coping and eating is what ACE stands for, an acronym. An acronym can only be an acronym if you can say the word. Do you know that?
Acronym.
An acronym is only an acronym if you can actually pronounce the word, like UNESCO or Qantas. But if it's...
Do you know what Qantas is an acronym for?
Yes.
Queensland and Northern Territory Airlines Service.
I know that. You asked me a question, then answered it yourself.
I didn't think you knew the answer.
Well, I did know.
What's UNICEF mean?
United Nations Economic...
International...
United Nations International...
Cultural Economic Forum.
Children's Emergency Fund.
Oh, all right.
1946.
Okay. There's a whole lot of those.
So this is a way that all the people in your
What's
company...
what's the CFMEU stand for? You heard of the CFMEU, the union?
The U is union. The something manufactures something... No, I don't know what it is.
No, it's nothing to do with any of that.
The U is union, is it?
The U is union.
Okay, tell me what it is.
CFMEU is CF. Forest. I'll just get to the C in a minute. The C. F is for forestry. F. Marine and not manufacturing. Marine. There's two.
Engineering.
No, there's two M's, but they only use one of them. So it's forestry, mining, marine, electrical. CFME union, and the first one is C is construction, forestry, mining, marine, electrical.
No, I don't think electrical. It's ETU is electrical.
I don't think it is E either, Don. You're quite right.
You learn something every
E
day.
is not electrical. E is. That's a very good point, Don. It's not electrical because I've tumbled into that. But no one ever knows what CFMEU stands for, and you didn't either, Doc.
No, I didn't. But do you know what my wife Sue stands for?
Serious, union, and extraordinary.
No, sexy, entertaining, and understanding.
That's
hang on.
That's not how you spell Sue.
That's
Okay,
exactly
sexy,
right.
understanding, and entertaining.
Well,
Yeah,
there you
that's
are.
better.
Yes. Well, what's joy? Jesus first, others next, yourself last. That's joy. Go on.
Joking or doesn't matter. Now, your best immunity. It's not only.
Hey, we've gone for over an hour, Tick.
Doc.
Shut up.
This better be good.
Yeah, this is
not.
This is your final
best
chance.
immunity is for you. It's for the people you employ, and most important, it's your family.
Doc,
your greatest performance in life is to be a brilliant role model for your kids. So, activity, coping, and eating for you.
Well, I think
your company, your
that's
kids.
past us all by.
I think children are a thing of pleasure.
Doc,
Anyway,
I can't.
moments of pleasure.
Please go to the website.
Yeah.
Your best immunity.
I can't possibly see the next time that you'd be on here. I can't see why we'd actually ask you back again.
Yeah,
but
Kerry Packer. I can tell you all the stories about.
No,
Kerry
you've
Packer.
teased us, Tick.
I
You've
asked
done
you
it
that when
too.
we first started. I said, you're here predominantly because you had something about Essendon Football Club.
I thought we were doing
It's
this for
Alan
2
Bond
hours.
and Kerry Packer. Don't think you're going to go for another 10 minutes on Kerry Packer. Doc. We'll say, hey, Doc, no, you're a very interesting person to speak to and we appreciate it. All right?
Well, I think you're both superstars because of
No.
Shut up.
It-